This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. This program contains mature content and may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
Good evening, ladies and gents. You have tuned into another exciting episode of Kenny's Korner. I am your host, Kendenique Campbell-Moss, and today we're talking about fathers. We're talking about Father's Day. Sunday is the usual day for us to give these men crab and rice, but there are some men that have been father figures to the fatherless, if you would say. Not their biological fathers, but yet they play a very pivotal role. We have to say thank you to those men that stand in the gap for other men, whether it be by divorce, whether it be by just the nature of not having your father there on a regular basis, but a male figure that stands in a gap. And I'd like to say early happy Father's Day to my father, Kendall Campbell. I'd like to say happy Father's Day to my brother, Donovan. And I'd like to say happy Father's Day to Ruben Craig Delaveau for a stellar dad, a stellar step-in, a stellar stand-up person that never, ever lets his children fall by the wayside. I want to say thank you to those three men. There are more men that I could mention, but I will start with those three. I'd like to also mention Gregory Clark. I'd like to mention Rotavio Gator, Roberto Goodman, Javon. I'd like to mention Ivar Lightborn. These are men that do what's necessary for their children. They are providers, and I want to say hats off to you. Thank you so much for providing that stability. But this evening, I have with me Mr. Ian Bongo Mora. Ian, how are you?
I'm good. And how are you?
I am well, Ian. It is so good to hear your voice. For those of you within the sound of my voice, Ian and I went to St. Augustine's together. Well, I don't know. Ian, are you still Roman Catholic?
Very far from it.
I guess it's only me one holding on to Ian.
Yeah. You and my mother and my father.
Okay. I haven't seen your dad in a while. I was glad, too, that your dad was able to be one of the men after my mom left, that would hang out with my dad at the shoe shop, Sydney shoe shop there on Ross Corner. Those are our people.
Right,
so,
for sure.
Ian, I will jump straight into it because when I put the flyer out with our topic, the inbox was inundated with questions about fatherhood, from men and from women. And there are some questions that we want to get straight to. So when you think about being a father, Ian, what does fatherhood look like for you? Because fatherhood is not traditionally what we used to see. So what does fatherhood mean for you?
Fatherhood primarily is a journey. It's a journey where you have this experience with someone who is younger to guide them through various stages of life.
Now, Ian, you not only are a father to your children, but it seems as if though you are a father to many. How did that come about?
Well, I could say from I was very young, I could remember my mother saying to me, "Boy, Ian, your cousins look up to you. You have a responsibility to them." And from that, it kind of like opened my mind up. And then when I went to university, it was, and volunteering at a children's home there was my first experience really dealing with children that were not mine. And it was there that I kind of, my eyes were open to, like, I had a gift of working with at risk or difficult teens, especially young men. And then the journey just went on and on and on from there, coming home to having a number of people women who, for some reason, asked me to help them with their sons. So those young men kind of became a part of me also. And then my first kind of personal experience was when I came back from university, and there was this young man. His name is Kervin. His parents were immigrants, and he just took to me. He just took to me, and we became a good team. To the point where people started calling him my son. I would make sure that he has what he needs for school. He wasn't lacking, but because he worked with me, I made sure and gave him like everything out of me. And I'm proud to say now that he's a business owner, So this idea of children and the part that we play with them, it's just kind of came natural to me. And then as I worked that program, sure, I got a firsthand look at what happens when nobody does it, when there is no one there to stand in the gap. No, let me retrace that. Not that there's no one there, but the team is lacking. They need some more people on their team to help them get to where they need to be, So, even there, it becomes a fatherly role. Now, for my own children, let me tell you, I never took the thing like, oh, I know what to do. I told them from very young, y'all will teach me how to be a father just as much as I can teach y'all things that I know. This journey together, and we've taken an unorthodox road, but the results have been encouraging.
Ian, I want to read this text. This text came in just a moment ago. Miss Kenny, please allow me 2 seconds of your time as you speak with Mr. Ian. I don't usually talk about stuff like this, but I got to say thank you. Ian, you didn't have to care. You didn't have to check in or pull me aside or even notice I was slipping, but you did. When I felt like no one saw me, you did. When I was close to giving up, you reminded me there's still a way forward. You didn't judge me or where I came from or what I've done. You just believed in me. And that made me start believing in myself. I will still go along. I still got a long way to go, but because of you, I'm not walking blind anymore. Thank you, Ian, for real. Miss Kenny, thank you for reading ahead of time. Ian, that message was directly for you.
Oh, wow. I'm touched. To be honest with you, that's what I work for. To hear people say thank you. And I've been fortunate enough and doing it long enough to hear that.
Well, I haven't heard anyone else young person manners as well.
Well, the thing about it is, even the toughest of young people have some good to them. And this is why you hear mothers, even when their sons are locked up, and you might hear them say, my good son, because even the worst person still has some good to them. And what we've been doing as a nation, as a world, is trying to get the good out of them by focusing on trying to get the bad out of them by focusing on that and correcting that. When what really works is focusing on the good in the person, recognizing that, and giving them that feeling that goes along with being recognized. And that takes them a much longer way.
This is this is a full circle moment, right? So Ian, you and I were both raised in the Catholic faith. You have deviated, right? But what do you think? What do you think influenced you to be the type of father you are today? Because I see you with your girls, Ian, and you're a doubting father. I mean, you are there for everything. It doesn't just seem to be cosmetic. What type of influence did Mr. Mora, and maybe you have a sister, and what type of influence caused you to be the type of father you are today?
Um, my mother, I gotta give her props. We spent a lot of time together growing up, and I could just remember her like saying to me, Ian, this is the type of man I need you to be. Ian, this is exposing me to people. You see that man there? You see how what he's doing? This is the type of man I need you to be. She also was like heavily involved in the church, in the youth of the church, which would have been mainly guys from the inner city. So I think that too, and her nurturing interaction with them, where it was like firm, out of respect, but still loving. So I think that played a major, major role in who I am. My uncles, I could remember just like the financial side, especially of like providing for them is your job, like regardless. So it's my uncles. Those were the people that played a major role. Of course, my father contributed, but those were the individuals who I I was mostly molded by. My mother, even though in Trotting Rastafari for a long time, she thought I was totally gone from the principles that she had given me. But I just saw them through a different lens. And so I would have to say, my mother, even to this day, still, if she see me get a post on Facebook, she calling me up, now Ian, you know, da 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 da. And luckily, after she don't ever tell me like I got to take it down or nothing, but she'll just let me know if she disappointed. That too radical, that too radical. So,
Wow.
I say that also to say that there is this idea that women can't raise men. Women can't raise men, um, on their own, but women can contribute towards the shaping of a man. It's just that raising children on the whole is not a one person affair, it's a community affair. It's not a two people affair, it's a community affair. That's why we get four grandparents, we get multiple uncles and aunts, because all of them are required. And when we don't have any layer of that, then it puts the child at risk. When the
Ian,
child is at risk, we got to step in with interventions to get them back on track.
Ian, do you think that divorce makes it difficult to raise the child properly? I mean, in a divorce, you're right, when you talk of the ancillary matters, you're supposed to be dealing with the focal point being the child. Do you think that divorce makes it a little bit arduous to parent the child properly?
Yeah, I think anything outside mother and father, with their support networks giving them support, anything out of that will open the door to some sort of dysfunction. Divorce, and especially if it's a messy divorce, causes trauma. There are certain traumas that people need more help with getting around. And when a child experiences four or more of those traumas in their life before or during their teenage slash formative years, it makes it more likely for them to abuse alcohol and drugs, more likely for them to be promiscuous, more likely for them to seek the sensations in life that are negative, more likely towards a life of crime. And so when we provide trauma, towards children without proper healing, because things happen, but without proper healing, then they carry that. And with we carry these things, and often it becomes a norm. It's like a person who gets their leg injured, but they never go to the doctor. They walk with a limp. The limp for them becomes a norm. Even though they could have gone to the doctor and maybe gotten rid of the limp becomes a norm to them. So it's the same thing with the children, that emotional limp becomes a norm to them, which they in turn carry on to other relationships in the schools. But the thing about it is that divorce in and of itself doesn't have to be divorce. Best case scenario, it's amicable and they explain to them. And even at that point, it's still going to be some level of trauma. That's what we have to realize. Their whole world is being shattered at this moment. And everybody owes it to them to make sense of this new arrangement that's going on. I love my mommy, I love my daddy, but now they are loving other people and not loving each other. That's a tremendous strain for a child to go through, and they require support. They require safe spaces where they could communicate and share what's going on, and people who are going to listen without being judgmental, people who could listen almost with like a third eye so that you could see the surface level pain, but also what's happening beyond that. They require that. Sometimes that's a parent, sometimes that's a grandparent, sometimes that's an uncle. And in the absence of that, sometimes it's a therapist, sometimes it's a teacher, sometimes maybe even a pastor. It can come from somewhere. But if it doesn't come, then we see the antisocial behavior that we feel and plagued by today.
So, Ian, tell me something. Do you think your learnedness or your composure or your positioning is because you are a Rastafarian? Am I saying it properly? Or Rastafari?
Yeah, Rastafari is sufficient. Of course, Rastafari plays a critical part in the lens that I see the world through, in the way that I interact with the world. But it's not just Rastafari; it's the whole African value system. See, with African / indigenous and value systems, is very, very different from the capitalist system that is based on money and return, exchange. The value system is based on higher, balance. And if we're going to see the world through those lens, then it becomes very different. If you're using the Western lens, a Black woman with her natural hair and her dark, dark, dark skin, thick lips is going to be deemed as not beautiful. However, through the African lens, it's not some put on thing where you see like every curl of her hair is actually like a sign of majesty. It's like no other human being on this planet like her. When you look at her skin, it's like oil. It's like, and understand what's going on under there. It's like all of this beauty that's going on, and then understand that like all creation has come through her, come through a line. You see the world differently as you begin to adopt these lenses. And it gets me in trouble sometimes, because I see the world through a different lens than most people. But I've matured and learned that, people don't have to see it how I see it. They okay, and I'm okay not seeing it how they see it. We could agree to disagree.
We could agree to disagree. And I like the fact that for all intents and purposes, you and I are disruptors. If that's a good thing or not, let people think what they will. They're going to think it anyway. And life is just far too short for anything else. I want to read another text that came in for you. Rasta, you changed me. I used to laugh when people talked about mentors or positive role models because they never felt like my world. But you walked me through the mess, not around it. You kept it real, no sugarcoating, and you listened. Even when I sing, you gave me tools to think different, to move different. I'm not who I want to be yet, but I'm not who I used to be either. And a big part of that is because of you. Respect. Um, Ian, you have all girls, is that right?
No, I got a son.
You have a son. Okay.
Mhm.
So Ian, you have a your oldest child is a girl.
Yeah, yeah. The first three are girls. The last one is a boy.
So what is the difference? What is the difference between raising girls and raising a son?
I think the major difference pretty much has been like it's two different directions. Let's take something juicy like dating, you know. Um,
Mhm.
as a black male, your son might have, and my son doesn't do this, but yeah, if your son has like more than one girl, you figure, he's just shopping around. But if
Right,
your daughter has more than one man, that's going to be a problem for you. That's traditional, right?
right,
But in my household, my son and I are subject to being the minority. And so my daughters are going to be like, and we've had this discussion. That's why I could tell you. Like they're going to be like, well, how come you have a different standard for him than you have for us, right? But the truth of the matter is they're going to approach the world very differently. And so having both male and female children forces me to have to look at through a gender lens, through each gender lens, and how they're going to approach things, what's really fair, what's really just. And sometimes I don't know that. Sometimes we got to work that out together, me and them. We got to work that out together. I'm just grateful that I've been able to create a space, my wife and I, their mothers and I have been able to create a safe space where they feel confident enough to share their concerns. That's the number one thing for me. And so we all participate in this family journey. Everybody has a say, you know. Every so often we have these family meetings. Now that they are teenagers, I'm saying to them, y'all, if you have a concern, don't just be walking around mad about it. Bring it to the table. Bring it to the table, and we'll find a solution together. Now, your original question was, sorry, I digressed for a minute there, but your original question was what was the main difference? It's
yes.
just the teaching them the expectations of the world and how to navigate it. What is the reality? As a man, I tell him all the time, when by the time you get 18, bro, nobody cares anymore. They ain't care. They only care about what you bring to the table. Now, girls, yeah, that is true for you too. However, the world that we live in, um, people may care. Other women may care about what you're going through because they could relate. For men, no. You bring something to the table, and then we could talk about your problems. And so it's about development and how we get through, but just realizing from a male lens versus a female lens, and then be open to them to be able to check me on, because like they say, I own. I
They say you
I don't
they
like.
say you all Ian?
Yeah, yeah. For about 5 years now, they've been calling me old. Yeah, I got a little bit of gray, but old. You know. But anyway, I got a good comeback for them. I tell them, look, yeah, y'all lucky if y'all reach this age the way your generation. So
I could tell you that.
I'll keep that. I'll wear that old like a crown.
I could tell you that. I could tell you that. I could tell you that. Now, when I think about like fathers, right, Ian, I think about a lot of times I think I have this idealistic view of what a father is. And Little House on the Prairie or Leave It to Beaver or the Waltons or, you know, uh, the Cosbys for all intents and purposes. Because of course they were the idyllic black family that had mommy, daddy working one unit, kids in a marriage, all of the other good stuff. But when you think about how a father should be emulated in a daughter's eyes, because I'm speaking from a daughter's perspective, right? When you think about a daughter's perspective, the father or a father should be a daughter's first love. He teaches you teach your daughter how to maneuver in life. You teach her how a man should love her. You teach her how a man should take care and respect and love her. Do you think that that is a thing, Ian, or what do you think as a father?
Well, we can go back to my mommy, right?
Right.
Something funny. You know, when we was growing up, they had like people used to do slow dancing. They don't really do that no more, right? Like the slow
No.
song come on. I could remember my mother saying to me, "Come, boy, come dance with me, so you could know how to dance with women, right?" So this is how I
Hey,
learned.
hey.
Yeah, you know. And so from that, I think I took away like you got to give people the experiences to prepare them. So now I've taken all of my daughters out on dates for their birthdays or for other times, so that they could know what it is to go to Cafe Matisse and have people serve them at that level, so they could know and be used to these things. So that, like, my whole thing for them was I didn't want them to have no experience where a boy could like swing them with something cheesy. You know, if you could swing them, buddy, you gotta go hard, 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 because they don't have a daddy would then carry them through the bush. They don't have a daddy would then carry them to do real community work. They don't have a daddy would then carry them to finest of places, the finest that he could afford. You know, so he then try to cover as many bases as possible in terms of helping them to understand this is what you should expect. You know, now they still gonna have their own standards. I gotta allow for that. But the base of it is for me to be able to show them that, listen, you have value, and also for my son, you have value, you know, and you determine your value. You determine what you accept and what you don't accept. And also for my son now, the other perspective would be, well, this is how you're supposed to treat a woman. This is what you're supposed to do.
Ian, your perspective is extremely valued. I didn't think of it along those lines, but I do see your point, because like even with my own daughter, I there's no boy who's going to come to and say, "Oh, I can take you somewhere," because like where hasn't she been? You can't come to her and say, "Oh, I can take you to
Yeah,
Miami,"
you know what
just
I
like
mean?
that. I mean, like we go to Miami for toilet tissue. Is that what you're going to fall for? So like, come on, But it's important for our us to introduce our daughters to our children, to introduce them to different lifestyles. Um,
I think too, Kendra, that the thing is that many of us raise our children in a state of fear that is borderline on panic. So take, for example, my wife, right? And I'm very fortunate to have her. But when the children were younger, we have a tree in the front yard that you could quite easily climb the tree and then end up on the roof. I could remember the first time she came home. I inside, the children on the roof. I know they on the roof, right? The roof ain't that high. I know they on the roof. She come home. Oh my God, Ian, suppose this happen, suppose that happen. I say, yeah, the roof load, it'll be an experience for them. They got to go to the hospital. It's a journey. And so I think for me, I didn't raise my children based on the fear of what's going to happen. I raised my children on let's see what happens. You know, if we jump off this rock into the water, let's see what happens. As opposed to, yeah, I so afraid of you falling. I so afraid of you. I tell the girls I want your heart get break early, because if your heart, yeah, man, if your heart get, I want you to be constantly getting your heart break, but I want you to get that early, because when you get that early, you know how that feel and you know how to deal with that. Then the older you get your first heartbreak, the harder it is to recover from it.
and you just become a sponge and then just a sucker for anything.
Yeah, because
Just,
you figure out
just
the world one way.
absolutely, absolutely. I have some more comments here, Ian. Um, I try so hard not to blame my mother, but it's a battle every day. Growing up without my father left a hole in me that I've spent years pretending doesn't exist. I needed him and he wasn't there. And that's what hurts even more. And that's what hurts even more. Wait. And what hurts even more is wondering how my mom didn't see it coming. How she could bring a child into this world for someone else's husband. I get that she had her reasons. Maybe she was in love, maybe she was naive, but now I live with the weight of that choice, and it changed me. I questioned my worth, my relationships, my trust in people, and because he was never there and because he was never there and she didn't stop it from happening. This is another comment. I grew up angry not just as a man who left. Wait, I grew up angry, not just at the man who left, but at the woman who stayed. I know it sounds unfair, but it's real. My mom always told me she did her best, and I believe her. But why didn't she know better? Why bring a child into a situation that was already broken? He was never going to be there. He had another life. And now I'm left picking up the pieces of a childhood that felt half built. I struggle with being a man because I never had one to show me how. And no matter how much I want to forgive, there's a part of why didn't she protect me from this? Wow. Okay. Ah, boy.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the heart of my professional work right there, right? Working at programs show children that are carrying these burdens and what it looks like. It doesn't like first I want to say for those people in particular, like get help. It might not take as long as you think, but if you got a broken leg, you wouldn't just sit home with that and be telling heal. If you got some form, if your car overheating, you're not gonna just park it on the side of the road and hope that's it. You're gonna go to a mechanic, and so your mind. There are people who are trained to help you work through those issues. All right, because you may think it is the past, but it also affects your present, and your present will determine what your future looks like. There are people that are carrying burdens, women that allow lower standards from men because they are seeking what they should have gotten from their father. Men mistreating women because they didn't get the nurturing that they should have gotten from their mother. Or, all kinds of different scenarios. Like this is so vast. But the truth of it is that you could get help now. You can get help. There are therapists galore out there that can give you help. But I also want to say our parents make the best of bad
what they have.
situations.
Yeah,
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 they make the best
yeah.
of what they have. You put it best. And when you're not in a situation, it's easy to judge. And when it impacts you as deeply as it impacts them, it makes it more difficult to see clearer. This is why we are supposed to have supportive family networks to help people to help guide people through that. But the truth of the matter is that you have to forgive them. You have to find ways to forgive them. And forgiveness is not about the object of the forgiveness. If you do me something, Kendra, and I forgive you, that forgiveness is not for you. You benefit from it, but that forgiveness is for me. I don't have to carry around this weight. I don't have to like all that negativity. And so, like when you forgive people, you literally feel like a weight lifted off of you. So forgiveness is for you. Forgiving people is for you, but they benefit from it. It's like if you buy yourself a car, you could lend it to people, you could give people a ride, they benefit from that. But at the end of the day, it's your car. at the end of that. And so that's like what forgiveness is about. But forgiveness is not easy. It's not
It
easy.
isn't. It isn't. I mean, it really isn't, because I see that every day, even with my mother being gone. And I look at how, and I'm gonna, this a moment of transparency, right? I see it every day, and I think like my mom used to do so much for her siblings, and I wonder if anybody ever remembers her. You know, Mother's Day will come. My mom's birthday is coming up. Will they say, "Hey, I remember Nikki"? Like, do you remember my mother? Do you remember the thing she did for you? And I have to get to a point of forgiveness, because I haven't gotten there yet. And I think that what you just said is resounding, because you have to get to a point of forgiveness.
Think about it. They would have been who they were when your mom was doing what she was doing for them. They ain't just
Absolutely.
that space. And so she gave because that's what she wanted to do,
She did. She did. She did.
not
I mean,
because she's expecting something from them. And so, like, what they are going to do or not do might not necessarily mean that they don't care.
that's true.
Because one of the things that I realize is people process pain differently. And it's easy to look around and see how other people are doing things and get frustrated or get looked down on. For an example, have nothing to do with what we're talking about. But it does. So you will have a mother whose son comes to program Shaw, ends up at Simpson Pen, goes before the court. In a lot of circumstances, those mothers feel like judged because people whose children are not doing that, they're like, oh, this woman is this woman is that. Because in our mind and based on what we know, she gotta be a worthless woman. But the truth of the matter is the majority of those women are hard-working women who neglect their children in order socially, in order to provide for them financially.
It's
That's the
true.
large, that's the large number of them. But our perception, based on what we know. And so I say that to say, even like with your family, based on what it might feel like, okay, yeah, they could do more. You can always look at people and say that they could do more. But your your relationship with your mom is about you and her. Her relationship with them is about them too. And so
Exactly.
I am
Exactly.
what what based on your relationship with her, what would she want you to do as far as your relationship with her?
Well, no one, Kenra, you got it this, and I could hear right now, and then like this,
That's
the
what I
part of
just gonna say because
yeah.
if it was somebody who didn't take foolishness from Kendra, it was her mother. She might could get past with a daddy, but not with a mother.
Ian, you calling it like you see it. You call it like you see it. Let me get through these other texts. This text reads, I never knew what it felt like to have a dad cheer me on from the sidelines or walk me through life's big decisions. I had to learn what love looks like from broken examples. But I'm healing now. I've Wait, let me start this over. I never knew what it felt like to have a dad cheer me on from the sidelines or walk me through life's big decisions. I had to learn what love looked like from broken examples. But I'm healing now. I've learned to mother myself. I'm not bitter, I'm just aware, and I'm choosing better every day. This next text reads, I used to say I'd never be like my mummy. 6 kids, 6 different last names, no man sticking around, but here I am. Same story, just a different generation. The truth is, I saw her survive when she should have broken. I thought love meant trying over and over. Now I know love starts with me. I'm raising these kids with all I've got, just like she did, but I'm breaking the silence to my daughters to don't repeat it too. This next text reads, when there's no dad to guard your heart or guide your path, you learn to build walls. I became my own protector, my own provider. It's exhausting, but I refuse to stay wounded. My pain birthed my strength, and I just pray my daughter won't have to find hers this way. It's sad, especially when you don't know who your real father actually is. The reason that I don't know is because my mom worked so many different jobs, and many of the time she said she did things in order for us to survive. Things that she would never speak of. My mom is dead now, so I don't have anyone to ask the question to. This next text reads, I didn't have a daddy to chase monsters away or teach me how to be I didn't have a daddy to chase monsters away or teach me how a man should treat me. I chased love in places that only left me emptier. But now I see the pattern. I'm breaking it not for the revenge, but for the redemption. My story is still being written, and this chapter is about healing, but not healing from not having a father, but healing from resenting my mother. Because sometimes I feel like my mother had known better. She knew that my dad wouldn't stick around. She knew, and she never did anything about it. So I'm healing from my mother and not so much from my dad. I now have children. I now have children of my own, and so happy Father's Day to me. Because as much as I'd like to say, the cycle repeated itself. No, 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 don't, no, 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 don't get me wrong. I got married and had my children the correct way, but I don't think that I was the right woman or the right wife because he left and now I have these twins on my own. Everybody has a different story, Ian.
Yeah, at times too, like I'm an empath, and so like I feel, I feel, hear these things. Um, this is where Ubuntu actually comes into play, right? Ubuntu is the percussion band. One of the things that we provide is uh, a free bonfire. We invite people to come out and just experience the music, experience nature, because a number like healing doesn't have to be sit down and talk. Healing can be movement. Um, the 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 woman who is the choreographed dancer at Junkanoo might have the same amount of problems as somebody else. But when Junkin was playing, it puts her in a trance where her problems are secondary. Like
Mm,
everybody needs that something that they can dip into and not something pretend. Because just because something works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Something that intrinsically brings you joy. It might be helping people. It might be eating chocolate. It might be whatever it is. Like people have to find where you fill their cup because we live in a world. It's just the way it is. In capitalism, communism, just the way it is. Where we go around giving out of our cup, and we need to find ways to refill our cup. People are carrying around a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, and so like music carries therapy, but it's just that a lot of the music that we are listening to on the radio is not therapeutic. The frequency that they're operating at, it's more aggressive. The lyrics that they're using doesn't bring healing in any way, shape, or form. It's more just capitalist and commercial, this commercial thing. But there are ways to have that done. And through Ubuntu, we've been trying to do that. We've been trying to go into various spaces and provide that healing for people uh, um, through the drums, through the various percussion instruments, because people are carrying a lot of hurt. And one time ago, we used to have institutions. And the family was one institution that you could go by and receive healing. The church was one institution that you could go by and receive healing. Two of those institutions are not doing that anymore for whatever reason. It's not getting done. And so now we have to have a third kind of institution. And one of those institutions is like a nonprofit organization. How do we operate through nonprofit organizations to complement what government does, to complement what everyone else is doing, so that like we could make those old like strategies compatible to today's realities or to create new ones, because that's what it really
what it really comes down to doing. How do we create mechanisms to create this safe space? Because it translates into murder, it translates into corruption, it translates into a lot of antisocial behavior. It's just this reality that we are living in, where we have to choose between a dollar and helping someone. And as the economy gets more strained, that choice becomes more like the impact of that choice becomes more important. And poverty is on the increase. We have so many challenges that are going on that we have to become individuals who are willing to not let money be the primary focus. We can't be fools and not think about money at all. But we can't let money be the primary focus for some of the things that we do have to provide healing. When we operated the after-school program for all of those years, we took children on their first trip off the island, in Auckland and Cat Island. We supported people as they went off to university. We did a number of things within the community to just kind of stand in the gap. We were doing that first. There were very few people. Now there's a number of community organizations that are there to provide healing. And so what I think is missing now is that we are not all coordinating our efforts. So we're all working in silo and overwhelmed in our little silo, when those issues could be greater impacted if we can all put our egos on the side, not want to be recognized for it, but be satisfied with those who are the target, those who benefit from what we do, simply saying thank you. Don't need when we were in the Indaba, we didn't have no cameras, we didn't have none of that, because for us it was exploiting the children. So it comes down to these values again, right? Indaba is based on African values. So it's like, we don't want your money if you're gonna come there and do a photo op. If you're gonna give, you're gonna give. We're not gonna do a photo op, because that's kind of exploiting the children. So we had to learn how to do things a different way. We had to clean up the community, and through cleaning up the community, we found that you could turn cans into money, you could turn bottles into money. That was, I think, like doing it the harder way. Children. We didn't plan on doing that at first. At first, we was just cleaning up, but then it turned into us accessing resources to be able to do things that. But like, we had a project. It was called Communiversity. We brought in professors from like American universities. We brought in master drummers from Africa, and we hosted them right on Paku Street. That cost us like thousands of dollars, but we were able to get it done. We didn't put the money first, we put the community first. And through that, we were able to get great things done. And that's what informs my lens and how I look at things. People say, oh, you idealistic, but I'd rather be idealistic and figure out possibilities, be able to see possibilities, than not be that way and only see closed doors, because it's easy to do that, especially if you're carrying trauma.
It is. Ian, when are you guys doing that again with the healing, with the drums?
What I would say is follow Ubuntu on social media, because it normally goes with full moons. And so when there's a full moon, we normally try to go out right there at Goodman's Bay. But we do flyers and stuff, so you follow.
I've seen Princess post one or two. I have.
Yeah. So,
and the last one you had, I was supposed to come to, I broke my ankle, and so I wasn't able to make it out to that one.
But if you'd have come out there with a break ankle, you used to walk from there.
Oh man. You said something that was very paramount, Ian. You said that people are that they carry trauma, and I remember seeing you New Year's morning. I think my group was on Shirley Street, And you said, Kendra, I hailed you. And I was like, Ian, I don't remember. Bongo, I don't remember you hailing me at all. Like, what are you talking about? And you said, listen, like you were in a trance. But I don't remember that. But it really goes to show you that when the drum rolls over, or when you have those types of outer body experiences, like you really are in a different place. And maybe that is your place of real joy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you were able to do you in a different realm.
Well, I I also consider myself to be a healer and a builder. Like I didn't come here to bring confusion. That's why my mother is be on my case about it. It ain't like
Miss Morris, when you can say,
yeah, because I didn't come here for that. I come here to bring healing to people. I come here to help people. That's what is most natural to me. That's why I've been able to work at Program Shaw for all those years. That's why I've been able to work through Genesis, and we did our junk community where we went into the children's homes, and we had camps there, and we opened the door up to other groups to come along and do it with us. I am about building. I'm about healing for the whole world, but through Black people. We
I
as
love that.
Black people have something to offer the entire world. Like we gave the world fire. You know what I mean? We gave the world a whole lot of things that we are lost to, and I still believe that that is our purpose. That's what we're supposed to do, and that's why for me as a Rasta, at this point I'm less fiery. I'm more less about fire burn and tear this down and burn down Babylon. There is a place for that, but that's just not my role. My role is to understand and see how we could bring healing to situations. And I think those things are in balance. When those are in balance, then everything can go well.
Ian, what so Ian is your colonial name? What do I call you? I call you Rasta Bongo. Tell me what I supposed to be calling you, Ian.
You call me either one. Um, people that call me Mr. Mora, they know me from Program Shaw. People that call me Bongo are from the Rasta community or from Junkanoo. Um, People that call me Ian, they know me from long time. So I go by all.
So
Yeah, I
because we don't
often
want to tell them
find
how I know you as Ian, so we can leave that fun.
yeah. Yeah.
Let me get through some of these text messages because they're coming in fast and furious. Um, when you grow up without a father, every "Hey Beautiful" sounds like a promise. I confuse attention with love. I confused attention with love for years. I just wanted to feel chosen just once. It took pain, therapy, and prayers to realize I'm worth more than temporary comfort. Now I choose me first. With no dad and a mom always working doubles, I grew up fast. I made bottles, checked homework, and wiped tears that weren't even mine. I was a child raising children. Now, as a mom, I'm learning to give my babies what I never got: childhood, safety, and presence. And like Ian said, we work in a constant state of apprehensiveness. And sometimes I'm overly apprehensive because I am seeing what can happen when children get left unattended. This next text reads, I crave stability like it's air, but every time love feels too safe, I run. I never had a man show up or stay as part of. Wait, let me start this over. This is so choppy. I crave stability like it's air, but every time love feels too safe, I run. I never had a man show up and stay, so part of me still believes they don't. But I'm tired of running. I'm ready to unlearn what abandonment taught me. This next text reads, I'm raising boys without a blueprint, no man in my life, no example in theirs. But I wake up every day and pour everything I have into them. They deserve better than the cycle we were handed. I may be tired, but I'm not defeated. I'm going to keep going. I lost a son to the streets. My son was murdered 4 years ago. I have three additional sons, and I'm doing my very best. I sent two to Canada, and one is still in high school. I want you to understand that this is a timely show because everybody doesn't have a father. Everybody doesn't have a role model. And yes, I made these mistakes on my own because I was looking for love. I was looking for a man to hold me and to make me understand that he would be my all and I would be his. But that's not really what happened. So when I say happy Father's Day, I say happy Father's Day to me. All of my boys are for the same person, but they've never spent overnight. They never know what it is to see him on Christmas. They've never known what it is to even open a gift or to come to a graduation. But I'm thankful for these non-examples because like I said again, I put this on myself because had I had a man, maybe had my mother shown me what it was like to love a man and have a man love her, I wouldn't be raising my sons alone. This next text reads, duh, 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 duh. Yes, early heartbreaks are good. All right, all right. Thank you so much for that. Um, Ian, we have some more questions.
Can I
How?
can I can I say something?
Yes,
And
yes, Ian, go right ahead.
the all the texts kind of following the same kind of there, and I'm angry at my mother.
Yes.
And I hope I haven't been dismissive of that in any way. But first I want to say to all of those people that are listening who have those experiences, I just want to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry you went through that. I'm sorry your dad wasn't there. I'm sorry your mom had to struggle. I'm sorry you went through that. You did not deserve it. However, if you are not getting the help you need, what you are doing is continuing that hurt, and you are doing it to yourself now. You are doing it, and it is impacting other people now because it is something that is deep. It is something that is deep. And so, yes, you deserve better. Yes, you deserve, but you're not going to get what you deserve until you reach a point of healing. I don't want to diminish what people are going through. I don't want to, but there is so much power in taking responsibility for your emotions, taking accountants. It's hard, but it is so powerful when you could do it. Being honest with yourself, that not just seeing yourself as a victim. Yes, there is a difference between someone who was victimized and someone who is a victim. If I see myself as a victim, that means I'm a victim in perpetuity. So I carry in my victimness, my victimhood with me where I go in. But if I was a person who was victimized, I'm carrying my personhood as I move forward, and the victimization is just an experience. We don't have to carry these things with us. We don't have to carry them. We actually choose it. It's not easy to go through it. I don't want to diminish for people how hard this is. But when you make that first step, like a journey of 1,000 miles, they say begin with the first step. When you make the first step in that direction, the direction towards your healing, trust me, I can tell you doors will open up for you. Whether you are a Christian, a Muslim, atheist, whatever it is, the universe will open up doors. African spirituality, you just see these doors open up because there's so much power in taking responsibility for your own healing rather than running away from it. Running into the arms of another man is still running away from the problem. Running to church and not addressing it is still running away from the problem. Getting yourself so absorbed in work is running away from the problem. Why I have to be real with people about that is because you can either deal with a major problem now, or you could deal with a catastrophe later. Like it ain't a choice in doing nothing. It ain't a choice between something good and something bad. It's a choice between something bad and something worse. So what you want to do? You want to go through that hard work,
And sometimes, especially as women that have children, that's why, my wife is not the mother of my children, but it was always important to me that I had them with me on the weekend. How you say? Because they they need their space so that they could balance off their self. Whatever they want to do to balance off their self, they could do that. And so that's the role we gotta play. Instead of judging people who are mishandling their crisis because they're doing it alone, we as the onlookers have to start thinking about what is it that I could do? How can I help other than judging? Because that's the only way we can get it done. If we start to not just those who are going through the crisis, but those who are in their lives, those who see them, to be able to interpret that when you have a miserable waker, that's because that's a good chance because of some trauma that they're experiencing now or before. When people aren't operating optimally, it's often because they struggle. And so, yeah, we don't want to take on people's whole reality, but sometimes just sitting and listening to someone could change their whole reality. Just listening. You don't have to have the answers for people. You just have to be genuine to be able to create that safe space, because the world is hurtful. I mean, from the beginning of time. That's why they give you the story about Cain and Abel. From the beginning of time, we had these things because these is natural human tendencies. However, when we have support networks to be able to address them, then they are less of a problem. Unfortunately, colonialism and slavery destroyed much of the mechanisms we had developed over centuries as African people. But they covered them. They aren't lost, and there are a good number of us who are working to uncover them and put them in practice, not only on an individual level, but at an institutional level.
I truly appreciate that, Ian. Ian, we are completely out of time, and as a father, I want you to give us you have the last 30 seconds to say to the nation, whatever it is that you'd like for Father's Day.
All right, let's start with who cares what that woman is? If she's a bad gal, whatever she is, you had a baby with her. So it ain't about her, it's about the child. Yeah, she might be stressful, she might be whatever, but that's the price you gotta pay to be a father to your child. And if the woman is not allowing you to be a father for your child, guess what? You could still do certain things. You could still make a certain effort so that when the child gets older and they come looking for you, you have something to show them, hey, you weren't just, out of my mind. We have to think also about trying to bring healing into place, not just thinking about our family and the ones that on whose side we're going to take, but as we are counseling people, we have to begin to make the family sacred again. We have to begin to have people who are going to try and keep the family together, not keep people in abusive situations, not keep people where they're being oppressed, but that we could actually have healthy families again. That takes encouragement. That takes that takes courage to be able to speak the truth. That takes walking with people. None of these things that we require is an overnight thing. And we as men, the role that we play is so important. When the women are falling down, it is because they are doing it for themselves. So please do what you can. It doesn't have to be your actual child. If you see something going on, you might be able to step in. I ain't asking you to go beyond your boundaries. We as men got to take control of our communities and do what it takes to get to our young men and not bully them and punch them. No, because you can't do that unless if you have some relationship with them. So we have to begin to mend and build relationships. Other men in the community, with the women of the community, with the children of the community, because that role, we can't just look at our children that that come out our loins anymore. We have to begin to see all children belong to us. And when we do that, that'll help in some way to get everybody to where they need to be. Because whether you like it or not, men play a specific role within the family, within community. And when we don't play that, it causes a dysfunction. So I don't want to judge you. I know it hard. I know the gal might have a big mouth. She might be the worst person, whatever. Whatever it is, you owe it to the child. You owe it to the child to do what you got to do to be there for them. And most women want two things out of a father. They want time for their child, and they want resources to take care of the child. With the resources part and the time part, if you are consistent, even if you only get a little bit, if you get 5 minutes once a week, once you do that consistently, the woman will respect that. That might not be all she needs, but she can respect that. Time and resources. You have to do what you have to do in order for us to make a dent and to help our families like flourish. We ain't just want people surviving. We want them to flourish.
Ian, thank you so much for being here. Ian Bongo, Mr. Mora, Ian Bongo Mora. My goodness, Ian, we have come full circle. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another interesting topic for us here on Kenny's Corner. We spoke about Father's Day. We spoke about the lack of having a father, what it means to have a father, what it means to parent children differently, and what eyes and what lenses we should use. But there's one text that I want to get through, and this one reads, what if the father that you've known all your life is not your father? What if this father has completely let you down? What if this father has altered his universe and then yours? What if? Kenny, let's have a repeat of this show next week. For those of you that are within the sound of my voice, this is another evening for us to have popcorn and wine. So snuggle up with that person and find the love that you deserve. Have a day evening. Peace, love, and soul. I will see you again next week, Tuesday. Thank you so much for listening. Kenny's Corner, Guardian, and 96.9. Fresh news, smart talk, all day.
When I and my mother would disagree, to get my way I would run from her to him. He'd make me laugh just to comfort me, yeah, yeah. Then finally make me do just what my mama said. Later that night when I was asleep, he left $1 under my sheet. Never dreamed that he would be gone from me. If I could steal one final glance, one final step, one final